Hi, hello, hi.
Hi.
How's everyone doing on this fine evening? I hope everyone's hanging in there. I really hope everyone's hanging in there. Hi. How are you guys today?
Well, I had food. That was good.
That's typically.
Took a shower today. Winning.
Those are two, like, on another year, those are just two things that it's not even like a blip on the radar of things that you accomplish. But here in 2020, those are like bona fide to-do list accomplishments. If you can eat and bathe in the same day, you deserve a treat at the end of the day.
I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I had a muffin. I'll take that as my treat. But I mean, I can like get an ice cream too if we want more treats.
It's good to have ice cream on hand. So hello everyone, welcome to Spilling the Ale, our inaugural episode of Spilling the Ale. We're just going to every other week on our off week, if you have not heard of what it is we're doing here, we're going to be taking questions actually from you guys. And Locke, if you actually want to put the link in chat, we're going to be taking questions from a Slido link that we have set up. And if you guys want to ask us questions, whether it be for Jendee and Augustus, or I'll even take some questions if I can answer them. But we're going to be doing that every other week on our off week that we don't have a campaign stream. So it's exciting because we're going to have Secret Adventure Society content every week now.
Love it.
So excited. So anyway. I'm excited. I'm very excited. This is a very chill vibe. I'm living for it. Do you guys want to go ahead and dive into the questions, to the questions?
I'm excited about it too, because I love the D&D campaign that we have, and it's super duper fun. But like, I think that it's fun to get to talk about the characters like outside of the narrative that we put on too, because there's so much that just goes into some of this stuff that. I don't know. I feel like it's tough to surface like everything that we get to put in to some of these characters. So
yeah, it absolutely is. I'm excited for you guys to both have the opportunity to like explore the characters with the people who watch the show, but also like you all have put it's like you said, Hrothmar, you all have put so much into it, and I feel like you deserve to talk about it more. So I'm very excited for that. So we're gonna go ahead and dive into the questions. First one is from Sass Fan. And it simply, and this is a question that we will ask when we have other players on the show as well. But okay. Sassfan asks, what is your favorite spell/ability for your character and why? Jendee?
Oh man, I gotta pull mine up. Hold on. Yeah, you go.
Okay. So I have more than one for different reasons. So Jendee is a water genasi. So in my mind, she's like very aquatic. Like you could just like leave her in the water and she'd be fine, and like she could survive down there. Like, so walking on water to me is like awesome. And that kind of goes along with like I had like the spell where it was the first or second episode where I let us all walk on the water.
Yeah.
To me, it was just I felt like that expanded my like wateriness for her.
Your wateriness? Yeah, totally.
And then she's a cleric. So the other one, like cleric wise, that I really like is Bless, because I feel as if like she wouldn't necessarily be just like waiting for somebody to get hurt necessarily all the time. Like when we were getting out of the bathtub, I don't remember which episode it was, when we were all bathing together. Like, I don't know, like in my mind, I was like, oh, like I feel as if like, oh, like you get out and there's a little extra warmth, but like you don't really know what it is. Like I feel like Bless would have done that.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense.
And then the DPS one that I really enjoy is the necrotic one, which is Toll the Dead. And I think that I enjoy that one because the sound of it is like dolorous bells. So it's like, it's kind of holy, but yet it's like necrotic, which is almost like exactly not what a cleric is. So to me, it's almost like, oh wait, what did she just do? That was okay.
For whom the dead toll.
That wasn't a holy spell. That's interesting. Okay.
That is interesting.
Those are kind of my three that I stand out for me.
Yeah. I agree that like on I believe it was the first episode, or I don't know if it was the first episode when you guys, because you guys didn't meet the first episode, but you guys had you had the opportunity to cast walk on or water walk for everyone, and that was sort of the like you were able to be like, this is Jendee's aesthetic, water.
Yeah.
Hrothmar?
Yeah. So I think my favorite one that I've used so far is actually, it's not even really a spell per se. It's a feature of being an abjuration wizard, which is projected ward. So like Augustus is like kind of like the water thing for Jendee. Like Augustus is all about like trying to help and look after other people, though he doesn't do it with, like healing magic or blesser stuff. He's still out there trying to protect those that he's spending time with. And so as an abjuration wizard, I get this thing that like I get, what's it called? Arcane ward. So anytime I cast like an abjuration or this protection magic, I get this like temporary shield on me, which is great because I have like no HP to begin with. So I, for one, love it greatly.
I love it too.
What I like, yeah, no, it's like, please don't kill me. But the thing that I like the most is that I can project it onto other people. So like as a reaction, I can throw it onto one of my comrades. So I cast a spell, I get this like temporary HP on me, and like Augustus is very selfless when it comes to so much. So when he goes to like help someone, he might not be able to heal them or like, jump in front of them with a shield, but he can like protect them still, which I think plays into his like kind of character flavor a lot, if that makes sense. And then the other favorite spell that I have, I've actually never cast. I just like the idea of it so much. So I think it'll pop up at some point. But I think my favorite spell out of all of them that I haven't been able to use it is called Absorb Elements.
That's a rad spell.
With an elemental type, say someone like I step on fire, or someone hits me, like spews like poison on me. I can absorb part of it into my body and then rebroadcast it through, say, my staff or my fist, and like hit someone with the thing that they just hit me with, or someone else with it. Cool. And I think to me, that kind of plays into Augustus's mentality of like, protecting yourself. And so you kind of absorb some of it. It reduces some of that damage. But then like mirroring back the kind of like negative energy that you're trying to give him in a way, like it just, in my head, it makes sense for him, I think. So it's
kind of an Excelsior. Yeah.
I think it'll be my favorite.
That's awesome.
I can totally see that, because it like both of you, it's actually interesting that like the combination of you two are the first ones that are on the show, because the combination of you two are kind of the support heroes of the party. Because I mean, because like Augustus is not necessarily a healer, but just the way that you seem to have built his character is, I mean, very much so with the other party members in mind. He's a very selfless character, it seems like, to me.
Yeah, I think so. It's mainly looking out for other people.
Yeah.
Like he is not his main concern, basically.
Very interesting. Okay. Anonymous asks, general question for everyone, but why did you choose to make the characters the way that you did, and what went into your character's design? So it's kind of a two-party question. If you guys want to attack that any sort of way, you can talk about your character's aesthetic and why you chose that. Or if I can expand upon that question, did the character design that you gave our fantastic artist, Aurelia Raff, did the character design that you had as far as the aesthetics are concerned, how did those inform, or how were those aesthetics informed by the mechanics or the personality of the character that you chose?
So sorry. So is it like the visuals, or like the idea of the character? Like how did that inform the way that we designed him?
Yeah, like what is is there like a symbiosis between like the way that you designed the aesthetics of your character and how the personality of your character informed the aesthetic?
Okay, yeah.
If I can expand upon Anonymous's question.
I think so. Yeah, it's for Augustus. I definitely think that the aesthetic mirrored his personality, but not necessarily. Well, I would say his aesthetic mirrors his current state, not necessarily like who he is. Because traditionally he's been very like he works at this university essentially and is very static in his lifestyle. But now he's kind of branching out and trying to discover himself and discover like what he wants to do. So the aesthetic of Augustus is very like I keep everything with me and anything that I need is on my person, without being the kind of like hermit. I can look out for myself. Like it's not quite that. It's more of just like I might not return to where I am right now. So anything that I need, I just need to carry with me. So.
Which worked out well for you in the first couple episodes because your apartment got washed right away.
Yeah.
Rip.
My apartment.
That's true.
Jen, what about you?
I think Jendee's very similar. So the reason I picked Water Genasi, let's say like it was when 5e had first came out. We were doing the Adventurers League at a local like comic book store. So I had like gotten to play a Water Genasi for a little bit, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun, like elemental, and like you can pick elemental, and like that's your whole thing. So then for me, I was kind of like, oh, what would go perfect with that? Like a pirate, hello, like that would be perfect. Like almost in my mind, like I imagine like the two shit, like they're like boarding a ship and like Jendee's just like walking on the water around the ship, like checking things out. But definitely like I'm trying to like being a pirate is something that came a little bit later on in her life. She didn't grow up as a pirate, so same thing, like she kind of has to just keep everything with her, whether that's treasures or plunder or whatever she wants to keep that she's not selling for gold. I think that the aesthetic of her, like, so she was like the medic of the ship that she was on, so she necessarily wasn't like in the fights, and like being that like pillaging and like killing wasn't in like the front of her mind, but she definitely being around a whole bunch of pirates, it's starting to get more like into her blood. And I don't think that that's something we've really seen a ton of yet.
Right.
But I think that that's more so because she's unsure of that side of her. But she definitely has like that pirate aesthetic of I don't know, like to me, like swashbuckler, like female, but like on like that girly side almost. I don't know. I like pirates.
I dig that.
Pirates are my thing. I think it's because they're like pirates like were and are a thing, but it's still also very like non-fiction or fiction type of thing, like because it kind of like blends together. So
sure,
it's a little bit of both for me, and I think that that's cool.
You were talking about Jendee, like you can see her walking around the ship and checking stuff, and I just imagine like every dad walking around and kicking the tires on the car before you go on a road trip. That's what I see.
Yeah. Like swimming underneath and making sure like there's no like exterior holes that we've missed or something like that. Absolutely, like doing that like once over. Yeah, I could totally see her doing that kind of thing.
It's perfect. So you're both very like the common theme for both of you has come up that your characters are naturally kind of nomadic. Augustus, perhaps it came a little bit later in life for you, but like you're both very much so nomadic. Has that informed the decisions that you've made so far in the campaign?
I think so. I think that being from this, like, don't trust anyone but help the people you're with, has lent well to being in a group, but still like trying to get to know them and trying to figure out like what's going on with them and like her relationships with them, but also still trying to figure out herself.
Sure.
So she's definitely still like on a journey and like, yeah.
On an adventure, one might say.
Yes, absolutely. On a secret adventure.
What about you, Hrothmar?
I think Augustus is definitely influenced by the newly acquired nomadic stuff, because he's kind of all over the place when it comes to things. So like he's picking up evocation spells right now, which is like not historically his game. It does a little bit of it, but you know, it's kind of like it's like any life skill where you're just like, you know, I know how to change a tire, but like I'm not a car expert. But he just picked up a book on cars. You know what I mean? Like.
Right.
So I think when it comes to the nomadic lifestyle influencing like in-game character decisions, it seems like he's more open to trying seemingly random things because he doesn't know what is going to stick and like what's going to feel good for him. So he's exploring both like physically out in the world, you know, looking for vampires and whatnot, but also in his mind too, studying different things and trying different approaches to things that he may historically not have done.
Interesting. So you think there's a point in the not too distant past for Augustus in which, and for Jendee as well, in which some of the decisions that you've made so far in our little storyline would have surprised you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's so cool how characters immediately start growing, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like almost independent of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with like Augustus, he was just like a scholar who just like taught others how to do like a thing. And so he's basically having like a second renaissance right now, like trying to find out like anything that he can about everything that he can.
I love that. And I love that that's like it's an interesting thing for a character who's older like Augustus is to be having this childlike curiosity, you know? Another anonymous actually asks, guys, you can put your names on the questions, like it's okay. What kind of preparation goes into getting ready for a session? This is for Zach and the players. You guys go first.
I say Zach goes first on this one. We've answered
Yeah.
first.
Okay. All right, that's fine. So it prepping for a session, like DMing is so much like writing a book, and anyone who tells you they know how to write a book is a liar, just because there's so many different pieces in play and you never really know, and at the end of the day you just have to kind of like put stuff down and hope for the best. But like as far as, and preparation could go like one of two ways. It could be like planning, like what sort of planning do you do for any individual session? And you guys can keep this in mind when you answer too, but what sort of planning do you put into each individual session? Or what do you do like to get hyped in the moments before a live show starts? So as far as prep, I just try to, I know what the end goal for a certain arc that you guys are on is. So I try to keep that in mind, and I try to like plot out NPCs, and I try to have names ready and character voices. Sometimes I remember the character voices, sometimes I forget them the minute you guys meet them. But I try to have all of that stuff sort of prepared, and like more importantly, I try to remind myself that if you guys diverge from the plan, that's the beauty of it, and like we can always merge back onto the path. But how you guys get there, ultimately the planning that I do is the least interesting part of a session. It just sort of helps with a god's eye view of it. It's what you guys choose to do that actually makes it interesting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
And as far as like hyping up before a show goes, mainly we just milk the cow.
Yeah.
And then there's the high of technical difficulties, and then Locke inevitably overcoming those technical difficulties, and then we're like, hey, we're here. That's my prep, at least.
Mine's pretty simple. I pour some tea, I pour some water, get dressed and make sure my camera is all set up because Logitech webcams are a bane on the technological landscape, I think. And then I just kind of like go from there. Like it's good stuff. As far as like mental prep goes, I often will listen to the last episode that we just did at like 2x speed, like the day before, so that I remember like, oh yeah, we're on a boat. Like, that's right. like, okay. Like keep that in mind. So there's like that kind of prep of things, but then also just kind of getting into the character mindset of it. So like sometimes I'll get off work and I'll take a shower and I'll just like sit there in the shower and just like think in Augustus's voice, and like just kind of like get into that mindset before the session starts, and that helps me. It relax after work, and then also like kind of get into the character before things get started. So
That's right.
Do you have a tea of preference that you like drink for D&D?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called throat coat. It helps me not have a super raspy voice after a few hours of talking.
Okay.
So is it okay? Throat coat. Is it? Do you put honey in it as well?
Oh yeah, I
extra
load it up with like every sort of like theater kid.
Right.
You know,
just like spray Entertainer Secret in there too.
Anything, yeah. That's the proper name for it. So
throat coat. I've had my share of throat coat in the day for theater.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What about you, Jen?
So for me, same thing as Hrothmar. I'm sitting there trying to be like, what the heck did we do last episode? Like, where were we? And like, what was I doing? And what was the last thing in my on my mind that I was thinking like, oh, I'm gonna do this, and they were like, okay, we're gonna end, and I'm like, dang it! So I've been trying to like take notes at the end of episodes to be like, oh, you were wanting to do this, or you're wanting to ask this. As for like mental prep and that kind of thing, like I'm getting dressed in cosplay. So a lot of times I think and I think Locke had brought this up. I don't know if it was on stream or just chit chatting, but like, I feel like putting on a costume really like puts you in the character and the mindset. So I think that helps a lot. Kind of like get into that mode where like, all right, you're no longer Jen. Like you are this like elemental like water thing. Like, I don't know. I think that's the biggest thing. Oh, and trying to eat in between work and getting dressed and remembering too, so I don't eat on stream.
Yeah,
it sneaks up real fast.
It really does. It really does. Whenever I was in theater, one of the biggest parts of getting into character was getting in a costume. So I can totally see how that would like sort of put you in an appropriate headspace. Maybe I should cosplay for our sessions.
Yeah, we'll get you that DM costume.
Exactly.
The stores that you see, it'll be great.
The very
like
same.
A wizard, I feel like you need like a robe that has like a big collar. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
Exactly. Lot, get on that.
And then always like, so I think, I don't know. I know Zach has several pairs of dice. Eric, Locke, and I think Goon has. I don't know if Hrothmar and Gutter have multiple pairs of dice, but like generally I'm rolling all of my d20s and figuring out like I generally pick 2 pairs of dice that I'm like rolling with, and then honestly if those start not being very good, I'll start doing digital dice, just hoping for the best somewhere.
Right. So that's just sort of a way that you can test your luck see what luck is going to be like for them.
I've got 1 pair of dice for Augustus. I own like 9 pairs, but I've got 1 for Augustus, and it has two pairs of d20s in them. And I get all those out, and then to decide which one I use for the evening, I roll both of them, and whichever one consistently rolls lower, I use that one for the campaign for that night, because I'm like, cool, this one's still got 20s loaded into it.
Okay.
I don't want to blow him in pregame. Like, that's no good.
Huh.
That is not a strategy that I have heard before.
No, but
I don't hate it.
Sense. I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not that
Okay.
stuff. That's statistics.
Yeah. It seems like
It's got high roll. It hasn't done very well for me, I would say, but that's just what I'm doing so far.
guys, someone get the D&D scientist on the phone. We have to check something. Get the boys in the lab.
Have you ever though like gone into like the can't like let's say like one of the fights that we're doing and then like just because I can't remember and like they were all just super low.
Oh yeah, I just roll with it. In my opinion, a low roll is more interesting than a high one.
That's true.
In combat, it sucks because it's as a wizard, I'm like, doesn't hit. All right, well, I'll see you guys in 20 minutes. But at the same time, too, it's like I would rather like struggle than just be like, I did it. Like that, there's no fun in success, I think.
That's the quote of the night. There's no fun in success.
Let me.
What a night to say there's no fun in success. But no, like I totally, it makes for like when you're crafting fiction, you don't watch a movie and everything goes perfectly well for the characters. That'd be the worst movie ever. So that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Hrothmar, this question is for you. Anom.
Oh boy.
Anom. Again, you can use your names. Anom asks, let's see, did Hrothmar write about his student, or did Zach, or was it both of you?
Oh, that was all Zach. I didn't have any. That was completely unknown to me. The only thing that I've ever discussed with Zach is that Augustus is not interested in romantic relationships, and that initially Augustus was supposed to have a history of being a bad guy, but we swerved on that because it made things complicated.
Yeah, there was a point in time where Augustus was going to be like a former assassin or something weird like that.
He was going to be a like his whole protect. It was because he was originally designed to be like Uncle Iroh. So the idea of like I was a not good person. Iroh was not a good person. He was supposed to be the next Fire Lord. That man killed people. Like, not a good guy. But he became a good guy. So, like, it was... but I was watching Avatar at the time, and we were like, it's a little too close, and, like, let's not... so we're just like, okay, he's just out on an adventure instead. And I think that it's a lot easier to play that, I think, for me as a character. And I don't know. I don't feel negatively that we didn't incorporate it by any means. I really like Augustus as he is today.
Yeah. I do think you said that the only thing we talked about is that Augustus doesn't have any romantic interest, but that's not entirely true. I did get
most of it.
Like, well, I mean, you had a pretty eloquent backstory for like where Augustus came from and how that shaped, how that's informed some things. So, like, in creating that dream scenario for you, it was, it had to be informed by a thing that you had established in your character's backstory. So like all that like the fact that you used to be, the fact that you used to be sort of like a revered teacher, that you would have been very close with some of your students, all of that came from you. But that one particular student was, sort of an extension of that.
Yeah, that was not planned ahead of time. That was, well, I mean, Zach planned it, but like that was not something we discussed at any point. It's like, are you cool with this? I was like, the dream happened, and I was legitimately like, oh god. Like,
I was a little afraid that I'd taken it too far, but I think it worked.
No, I love it. That's the best part, right? Like I said, success is not fun. I want turmoil and things to get mixed up for Augustus. I think it'll be easy for him.
Just sort of fear, even, because like Augustus, you don't look at Augustus and see fear, but that seems like something that he would be absolutely afraid of, is like fucking up one of his students. Yeah,
that's scarier than murder to him, is having a bad legacy, or like, accidentally causing evil. Like that's exactly what he is trying to not have happen. And so this to him is more terrifying than, a dragon taking over the planet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Anom again asks, let's see. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I misread. That one is not Anom. We have another Anom in a moment. This one is from Anonymous. Come on, guys. This is for Jen. Has Jendee ever met any other worshippers of Saloon, or was the temple in episode 11 the first time she had ever been in a temple?
No, she actually grew up in a temple. Her mom was also a cleric in that domain. They actually lived, I wrote this in my little backstory. So they were in a temple. It's not in any of the like Faerun maps or anything like that. But kind of when I was looking at all of the territory and kind of where, like, if I were to like create and place a temple where it would be, I put it on the shores of the Sea of Fallen Stars, which is kind of like an inner, it's the interior, like, body of water, there you go, of in Faerun, but also like in the middle there's a whole bunch of little broken off islands that are called Pirate Isle. So I was like, oh, that's perfect, like that would like link in like the other like backstory also. Anyways, so yes, she grew up in the temple. So it wasn't the first time. I think that in her head, she was more concerned and wanting to go to the temple in that town because she was afraid hearing, oh, well, people are generally going there at night, not thinking, but that kind of makes sense for Saloon because it's, moon. She was thinking, oh my gosh, are they vampires? What the heck? Like, my people can't be vampires.
Oh no. That would be terrible. What a terrible twist.
The DM smiles, giving nothing away.
Yeah, it's like, all right, I've got some things to rewrite. What a great idea.
Anom asks, and this is for me, and it feels weird to ask a question to myself, but I'm sorry. Zach, what percentage of the show from your perspective is improv versus not improv? It depends on the night. Like, most of it, like 80%, it seems like, is improv. The only thing that's really
rewrite things.
Yeah, like there's sort of an outline and like story beats and things that can happen, but most of the time, like how they get there is not something that I preordain, if that makes sense. Like, it's most dialogue is improv, and everything the characters do is improv. But so it's like most good D&D needs to be, I think, at least primarily improv, but with a structure, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I feel like that's what we have.
Yeah, it's tough to, like, if you try and like prescribe the way that things should happen, like you're just gonna throw your own time down the toilet as a DM, and then it really sucks a lot of the fun out for the players to just be like, here's your goal. You must, thread this needle before you continue the story. Like, no.
Right. The most important lesson I've learned as a DM so far is that I can like plan the story and I can have all of these things, but the things that people are going to latch onto, the things that people are going to remember, are the shit that you make up off the top of your head, like eel, which came from, I had not planned on that at all until we were in the session. So like, that's the spontaneity of it is what makes D&D fun, Yeah.
It's like
IMHO
DM is to like take the target that's being shot at and then like run to where the arrow is as fast as you can.
Right.
Try and bullseye it.
Exactly. Okay. This question is from Narwhal. Narwhal asks, does Augustus like tea?
He orders it, but how do I put this? I think he orders it often because he didn't drink a lot at the university, so he doesn't have an adversity to alcohol by any means. It's not like a habit of his. So often when there's like bar scenes and everyone's like drinking booze under the table and I'm drinking tea or something, it's less because he has an adversity to it or likes it. It's just like what would I do in this situation? And like sometimes I would drink, and sometimes I'm like, you know what? I would like to keep my senses because everyone else is drunk, and one of us probably should have some wits about us. And hot tea is good. So
hot tea is good. I agree.
Remember when we ate those fish sausages?
Oh, I'll never forget.
That was good.
that was weird.
That was weird.
That would mess him up more than food.
D&D call it that was another one of those things that I was just like, what's a weird thing that I can fish sausage? Anyway, delicious. So I think this one is from Not Semi, and it seems like it's for me, but I want Jen to weigh in as well. Will you give Jendee a ship of her own to sail the seas with? I'm not going to answer that question, but instead, I am going to pivot and ask Jen what Jendee would do with a ship of her own. Would she stick to those pirate roots, or would she do something else if she was trying to break away from sort of the pirate life? If I were to just give you a ship.
I don't necessarily think that she would be like, oh, we're going back to pirating. I think that she knows that there are other things in the world that she can be doing to help others. Not that she's necessarily nice to everybody, because obviously she kills bad guys. But I feel like she would definitely use it to help the society get around places.
Okay.
I think that would be cool.
So it's just more of a thing you think you would just mainly use your expertise as a way of transporting the party from place to place. Like it would be less of a thing fueled by greed and more of a, this is what you know and it's where you're comfortable.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh, like we have access to a boat. Like, why don't we use this to get to here faster, and we can save ourselves X amount of days?
Very good. Interesting. Scribbles furiously. Another anonymous asks, how does Augustus feel about his relationship with Q? Is he annoyed that he is basically a guardian?
No, I don't think so. I think when you have a character that used to be a teacher, it's especially a good teacher, their patience is usually as long as the day is. And so I think when it comes to Q, Augustus is not bothered by him, or like, he doesn't seem like a burden at all. If anything, it's like the most familiar thing to him out of all of this, which is kind of the paradigm that I'm leading into with it, where like Augustus is used to this like situation where like someone needs your assistance at all time, or your guidance, and like it's super clear to him that like Q has good intentions and has just been dealt like the worst hands like his whole life, and so Augustus is trying to see past that, and more like, hey, Q, let me help you out here. There's no dumb questions basically when it comes to Augustus. So he's just trying to like help him out. There's no expectation of him like, oh my God, you're not getting this yet, or like I'm just gonna leave you behind. It's like you need help. I have patience. Let me help you with this. Now everyone's cool with it. So
Augustus is falling into his old role as a teacher, as a mentor with Q.
Yeah. Which is, it's weird to me because you'd think it'd be like, let's discuss magic with the other magic users or something. But if anything, like mentoring Q is the most comforting thing for him right now, I think. Because
it's what he's familiar with in this sort of odd setting in which he's found himself. And that's another interesting thing. And like Goon's not really here to talk about Q, but a very interesting thing about Q's character is that when he and I were talking, it never really came up that Q was going to be the baby brother of the group. Like it was just
no.
That's one of those. So. There was the question about how much of it is improv, right down to character development is improv in D&D games, because that's not something that Goon and I had ever really discussed, was like him being the kid of the group. I believe Pierce at one point just said the fucking little kid, and then from there it was just like, no, Q's the little one of the group.
Yeah, it just felt right for the group dynamic. Like,
Yeah,
like I think if we go, I want to go back and listen to the first couple episodes now and just kind of see how Q is behaving before that comment, and see it just kind of like look at like how is he behaving, and then like mentorship kind of kid role brattiness kind of thing, like that kind of seeps in, and then it just like takes hold and goes, and it makes sense. But
right. I feel like Goon has known that character from the get-go, but it seems like it sort of morphed into this whole different it's like you said, the dynamic. This question is for both of you. What is the inspiration behind your characters? So that's a pretty broad question, but you can take that as deep or shallow as you like. So what is the inspiration, whether it's for your class and race build or for what your character stands for? What is that inspiration, and does it like have a connection to each of your real lives?
I have a really I feel like I've always have been drawn to the cleric in D&D. I've tried other classes and don't necessarily hate them, but I always end up falling back to the cleric because they're not super squishy. So I know that I can take hits as well as deal out damage to, or not damage, heal others. So I don't have to be I gotta heal myself. I can be I can take another hit. Let me heal, the person that's getting beat up on right now. And then I already kind of touched base on the water genasi. I just thought that it would be really cool to link in with the pirate, and then the cleric just kind of all fit in together. So to me, I'm just okay, I like those things. Let's just smush them together.
Yeah, schmersh. So what is, if I can expand upon that, what is the thing that connects Jendee and Jen? Or is there a thing that connects Jendee and Jen?
First 3 letters.
Right. They sound the same.
Let me talk about that for a second. So almost all of the characters I play have they start with Jen. So it's Jendee, Genocide, Janandi, because in my head,
Time out.
Oh,
Sorry, time out. You played a character called Genocide?
Yeah.
Okay. Carry on. I just wanted to clarify that's what I heard. Carry on.
And Genotonic. Oh yeah, I have all
really
of them,
good.
y'all. I have all of them. So for me, it just became in World of Warcraft, for instance, if somebody's everybody always wants to shorten your name, so it's easier for me if somebody's oh Jin or Jendee, that kind of thing, for me to recognize that they're talking to me. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that thought. I lost it.
I'm into it. I love that there's that because every character, I think every character that I've ever DM'd for you has been that first. It's always Jen, so it's a good way to stay connected to to that character. What about you, Hrothmar? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My little moth was Janavi. Janavi. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I loved that. I loved that character so much. What about you, Hrothmar?
Good character. Augustus for me was definitely an extension of myself. So I was when we started doing this, it was back in the beginning of this year, and there was this point where I was do I want to keep doing the current job that I've been doing for the past 4.5 years? And I was okay, what if I just stopped, and what would that feel like? Just a hard stop, and then you got to figure stuff out. This was after the pandemic had started, and so when we were discussing character ideas of okay, this is the setting that it's going to take place in, and the rough inciting action of people are getting kidnapped, the world is ending, and I'm okay, cool, this I'm cool with this. Augustus came into being as sort of an extension of this person who has been in this position of comfort, not necessarily luxury comfort, more of just kind of habitual, just kind of do your day-to-day kind of thing. And what it would look like if your world just got turned upside down and you had to go figure out who you are now and what you want to do in life. And so for me, it was like a little nugget of me. And I was like, let's just role play this, because D&D as a meme is always treated as therapy. And so it's like, yeah, I'll just do this. This is healthy. But it
really is, though, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like if you ever want to explore your own psyche, like play a D&D character based on a caricature of yourself in a certain scope. It's quite fun. But yeah, so Augustus was just an exploration of like, what would I ended up not quitting my job. I love it, but it's like what would that have felt like was the initial idea, but I can't keep him in that box, right? You can't create that idea and be like, I have to figure out who I am now. And like for him, that's just who he started as, and then you let him become what he becomes. So you make Augustus as that idea, get him in the game, figure out what that feels like within the party, and then go from there. Like half the time you just need a starting point, and then they'll write themselves afterwards. So it's like real life. You just kind of there. Like you can't dictate it.
Half the time, if not more, it like your character has to get in the party before you can really know who they are. Yeah. At least in my experience,
who they are along the way.
Precisely. God. Dwarf Ironbottom asks,
oh boy.
Oh, I'm ready.
Why would you ever spill ale? Why?
It happens, when you're like on the sea, like it all doesn't stay in the mug.
It's for the homies, honestly.
It's for the homies.
It's all the homies in chat who showed up to ask us questions.
There you go. Jesus Christ.
Okay. That broke me more than I thought it would. Narwhal asks, and I'm very, this one's going to take a minute. I'm very curious about this one. What do you think your character thinks of other people? I'm going to expand that. What do you think each of your characters thinks?
Okay.
What do you think each of your characters thinks about each of the other party members that you found yourselves elbow to elbow with?
Oh, that's a fun question.
It is.
That is some tea to spill. Oh.
That is some ale to spill, even.
that might have to, in my opinion, that might have to be a staple question for all the other characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
a lot of these are.
Like,
let's go. Let's do it like this. Yeah, let's do it like this. Let's go.
Sounds good.
Like, I'll name a character, then each of you say how your character feels about that character, then we'll move on to the next character.
Okay, yeah, I can combine that. I like it.
We're gonna save each of you talking about each other for last. So, how do each of your characters feel about Pierce, our resident gunslinger?
I trust him because, like, he has. I think initially Augustus was very distant of him. He's very spooky and ominous. Like he's just like a murder boy. But like he's kind of like one of those people that, like, as you get to talk to him, you kind of realize it's a facade almost. Like he's a good dude, but also it's not a facade. It's like someone designed a facade is like a fake front to your house to make it look differently, and it's like, oh, he's just putting on an act. But then like you get to know him and you're like, wait, no, that's real. It's just a little, like, I didn't think that people were really like that, but he is, but he's still a good person. And I'm like, okay, like I respect him. He's like the guy in Tremors who has all the guns, and I'm just like, thanks for being here. Like, thank you.
Thank you for protecting us.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Jen? How does Jendee feel about Pierce?
I think she's still trying to figure him out. Same thing, like, comes across as like very like almost aggressive and violent, which reminds her of, let's say, like, I don't want to be stereotypical type of thing, but like that, like that pirate, that really bad pirate captain that's always getting the loot before you can get to it, and like like one of the bad guys on like Pirates of the Caribbean type of thing, but it's like I have respect for you, so I'm gonna get to know you a little bit more to figure you out. That's kind of how she looks at him.
So like an interested apprehension.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, for sure.
I can see it.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Very good. I'm not going to use these against you guys at all. What about Q? How do you guys feel about Q? How do your characters, I should say, feel about Q?
I love him so much. He's like.
How does Augustus feel about Q? I mean, there's Hrothmar. Okay.
Hrothmar loves Q. I think it's one of the most creative characters I've seen in a long time. And it's played very, very well. Augustus loves Q because he's on this adventure of like trying to find new things in his life, right? Like he is on that like what is the world, you know, like I need to look at things through a new perspective, and like Q is that new perspective of just like actual naive like innocence in a way, but like he's also really powerful. So like Augustus loves this little guy because it's like, hey, you teach me about the world by looking at things through a new perspective, but also like you scare me and I'm your friend.
Can someone please add that quote? You scare me and I'm your friend. That's another quote of the evening. All right.
Q for Jendee is the like little brother. So she's lost a sibling. So it's almost that. So I mean, we were in the, I don't know if it was the king's chamber, I think it was, when he like didn't want to give up the crown. And she was like, okay, here, whatever. Like, will this shut you up? Let me take my ring off, give you a crown. And it, like, because I feel like that's something that she would have done with a sibling. Like, oh my gosh, like, what can we do to just, like, you know, like, give him some candy or something? Like,
play with this Pokemon card. I've got like 6 of these. Here.
It absolutely just, like, calmed him down and gave him this, like, false sense of hierarchy. I don't know.
Yeah, like a sense of like belonging in the group. Yeah.
Yeah, the more I thought about it, I was like, that was cool. Like that was cool of her. I'm glad she did that. But yeah, at the same time, I mean, the Q is screaming all the time whenever we're fighting, so it's almost like, what the heck? Where? So I think it's also still, I mean, they're obviously all still trying to get to know each other, but popping out of nowhere, just like bam, 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 with this like bow, like it's just something very new that like Jendee's not really seen, but it's the same as like what Hrothmar said about Augustus, like I'm glad you're on my side.
Yeah, it's like you're spooky, like you could really mess us up, but like I'm glad you're not smart enough to probably realize that and you like us.
Right. Okay. What about one Dwarf Ironbottom? How do you guys feel about Dwarf? How do your characters feel about Dwarf? And I see, Locke, I see in chat where you said you love that I'm taking notes. I'm writing down the characters' names so I don't like forget who we've talked about. I'm not like furiously scribbling, how can I use this against them? Yeah.
DM's reverse metagaming the characters.
Right. Exactly. This was my plan all along.
This is my out of character now. Yeah. But I guess this likes Dwarf a lot. I think that there's a lot of mutual respect between Augustus and Dwarf. It's just kind of like, we're getting through this. We're just two bros. Like,
two bros.
It's weird to say it that way because it's not like there's not I don't know, it's like there's no apprehension and it's an extremely positive relationship, but it's also just like this mutual like it's like that scene in The Predator where Arnold Schwarzenegger like high fives the other guy and they both have big muscles, but like Augustus doesn't have big muscles.
What about you, Jendee?
Jendee sees Dwarf as that, like,
That handsome man.
No.
No.
No. Did you not like this. Well, first off, he's farted in me and Kess's face. So one of those, like, I don't necessarily think fun loving, but like just doesn't really care what anybody thinks of him. Like, I'm here to have some ale and to help these people out, and respects the like open and honesty of just like, this is who I am, and like I talk to this like small little animal in my beard, and okay, like what's that about?
What's that about? A little animal in the beard. Okay.
Yeah.
What about one Kess? How do each of your characters feel about Kess?
I think being the only other female character in the group, Jendee is, I mean, they bunk together. So I would assume that there's some kind of respect in the fact of like we got each other's back, right? Like we're good. But also like she's very mysterious to Jendee, and like she doesn't understand the flower thing, but she does understand now that it's important to her. So just trying to figure her out, but she definitely like has this connection of like, we're gonna take care of each other because, you know, all the single ladies. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. So do you think that is that a feeling that Jendee is used to, not being able to read someone? Has Jendee typically in her life been around people that she understands how to read? Like, has she been around these like two-dimensional pirates who have pretty singular? So this is new to her.
yes.
Okay.
And
here, what is this?
most of the people that she's been around have been male or like non-gender specific type of thing, mammals or like water creatures and things like that. So it's definitely like a new friendship relationship that she's trying to figure out in a very like stumbly, confusing type of way. And I like that. Like, I think I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing where like that friendship like turns into.
I'm too. I mean, it's like Hrothmar said, you have to like, not having all the answers is fun. So like characters not that goes both for like mechanics in game and for roleplay. Like almost even more so for roleplay, like figuring out the party or even NPCs. What about you, Hrothmar? How does Augustus feel?
I think with Cass, Augustus is very like he was wanting to get to know her because there was like a like, hey, you're cool and you're here with us who are doing stuff and things, and then like this giant terrible travesty happened in front of everybody, and it's like, oh, like I don't know, but guess like I think you need some space. It's like Augustus has been like not super directly involved with Kess for the past few episodes, because he's just kind of like respectfully giving her space and like also keeping his hands full with Q and whatnot. So as far as like his opinion of Kess, it's generally positive, and he would love to know more, but I think there just hasn't been an opportunity yet to kind of connect the two. It's like in any sitcom, like there's always the to reference like Friends, like there's always the Chandler and the Joeys, and you know that they're friends because they're around each other all the time, but they don't like hang out a lot until like at some point there will be an episode or an arc or something will happen where it's just like, hey, this is how those two people are like connected to each other. And like, I think that'll happen at some point, and it'll happen naturally. So
what would have happened if Kess had asked Augustus to go on the magic shop heist?
Oh, he would not have been very happy. Like I think you would have had to have lied to him and say like, we're acquiring goods from a storehouse that I already purchased. They just closed and we're gonna go get it because we gotta leave in the morning and then we'll be open in time. You would have had to heavily lie to him to get him to come along with it. And I think if that had happened and I had found out that we were robbing a place, I think he wouldn't have done anything. Like he wouldn't have like called the cops or anything. But it's one of those, I think it would weigh heavily on him. It's like, oh my God, I did a crime.
What have I done?
Does it? Yeah, it's like, no.
Interesting. I was wondering because I didn't. Yeah. What? Okay. What about Jendee? What would Jendee have done if Kess had asked? Because that was the first. Like split the. Was it the first crime? I feel like there might have been other crimes.
We went down and fought when the Dwarf and Q and Pierce stayed at the top of the water, and then the other three of us went down and like had a whole entire fight without them.
But that wasn't a crime. You guys were like,
no.
Yeah. But but that was the first time there was a moral split. I guess is what I'm trying to say. So like, it's kind of it's an interesting thing. So what would Jendee have done? Like having come from her background, would she have been put off? Like, oh my God, I thought I was done with this shit, or would she have been like, yeah, I'm in?
I think if there was a good like. I don't say reason, but like, okay, here's my argument. Like, here's what we're gonna do. Like, it's gonna benefit everybody. Jendee would have been like, okay, yeah, what time are we leaving? Like if we can get things that are gonna make us better, against fights in the future, and there's little risk to getting caught and that type of thing. Definitely would have gone.
Interesting, most interesting. Okay, what about now? Okay, here's here's where shit is gonna get awkward.
Oh boy.
Augustus, how does Augustus feel about Jendee?
I think it's a lot like Kess. I think that I'll probably end up having a very close relationship with Jen once it comes up, because we've both been taking care of the same dinguses this whole time. But, like, I think it's just one of those things where like it just hasn't come up naturally to have like a super heavy interaction yet, but I don't see it as a negative thing by any means.
And how does Jendee feel about
trust her?
How does Jendee feel about Augustus?
Same. There really hasn't been a lot of interaction. The only really interaction that I guess only two interactions that like stand out for me would be what were we doing? We were going into, it was when Kess had turned into a spider, and we had to like go up a little like, I guess, cliff.
When you guys were going to fight the Naga, yeah.
Yes. Okay. And Augustus was like, "No, you could all stay down here. I'm 1,000,000 pounds." And Jendee felt very much like, "No, like we're not leaving you. Like there's like we can lift you up. Like we can do this." So it was very much like, "No, come on, you're coming with us.
You raise me up."
And then the other thing that stands out was when everybody was like, "Oh, I'll get an ale," and then Augustus was like, "Oh, I'll get some tea and biscuits or cookies," and Jendee was like, "Okay, yeah, I want that too." Like it was something
so good.
It was something. Not that Jendee had never drank tea or anything, but it's probably not something that she was probably used to getting when she was on a ship. So it was almost like that reminder of like, hey, like you can have nice things in life. So I'm kind of hoping that that relationship will open her eyes to that, and then the fact that like we're both taking care of the group.
So you're saying that Augustus and Jendee are going to be the Donna and Tom, like you guys are going to be going on like treat yourself retreats. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe.
The finer things in life.
I can't speak for Jen here, but when it comes to like making decisions for myself IRL, I often forget that I have like the power of choice over things, and I just go with what's comfortable or whatever the group is doing. And like for example, the booze, everyone's ordering booze, and I'm like, actually, that lady over there is having tea and biscuits, and like the thought enters my in IRL. The thought enters my head. I'm like, wait a minute, I can order mozzarella sticks at the bar. Like, I don't think we could do it. Like, I think I have agency. Yeah, I have agency. Like, what? So like for me, that was like an IRL moment in game. That's what happened. That's why I ordered the tea and biscuits. I was like, oh, this happens to me in real life all the time. I'm like, actually, I don't want booze right now. I want biscuits and tea. That sounds really nice.
I love that.
I mean, I guess we can like go back and like also Augustus, Jendee, and Kess did have a very good experience going to, was it Scrolls a Million, and shopping together and all of that. So I do definitely think that that was a really good, like, okay, like we can all like have fun and like just let loose type of scenario. So I think that was really good for the start of those relationships that maybe hadn't been touched on in the previous like episodes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's why I like shopping trips. DM's kind of like grown at the idea of a shopping trip, but it's also a fantastic, if done right, it's also a fantastic opportunity for the players to explore their relationships with one another. And I feel like with that particular episode, yes, it was a lot of shopping, but it was also a lot of like you guys exploring and picking each other's brains and figuring out who has fun doing what.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's like in real life when you go to the mall with your friends. It's like
exactly.
You just kind of hang out. Nothing inherently interesting happens, but you have a lot of fun doing it. So
yeah, exactly. What about I've just one more character? Actually, two more. I'm going to ask you guys two more characters, two NPCs. How do each of you feel about Tox, the tiefling that you just met?
Really cool.
Do you have any sort of any grasp on them? Like what are your characters? Because like you both met them, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I ended up spending the whole evening with Tox, I think. Yeah, I guess just likes them. Like they seem chill and safe so far. I think it's a little like safe at an arm's distance kind of thing.
Yep.
Sure.
But like inherently, they seem like a neat person to talk to.
What about you, Jen?
I agree. I think it's very much Tox is very nice and open and willing to give information and willing to help. But we just met them, so like take two steps back and like keep an eye out and make sure everything is good. Because I don't think Jendee really spent a ton of time besides like the first like gathering of information, because she had gone to the temple and then had went to bed.
Sure. What about Zephy, your new employer? How do you guys feel about Zephy? Do you is there an element of trust there, or is there just like this person is funding us at the moment, so we'll see what happens? How do each of you feel about her?
Yeah, I think Augustus is kind of on the page of like employer, like I'm doing it, I'm a task runner for you, but you're paying me for it. But like I don't have any inherent buy-in to them as an individual. I think it's more of like we need money, we need stuff to do, we need help for other problems. They can help us with that. Like it seems, at least to Augustus at this point, very much like I will scratch your back because I know that you can scratch ours back at the end.
Right. What about you, Jen?
I think it's absolutely like an employer-employee scenario for Jendee. Like we have tasks to do. Okay, we do tasks. You give me loot, like not loot. Like you give me the plunder. Or like I get to keep whatever I find while I'm doing this. Okay, that's even better.
I love that you're using pirate nouns to describe money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very, very on brand.
But not necessarily like, because I think there's all kinds of like employer-employee relationships. So like definitely not like trusting, but very like business professional. Like I will bring you what you need as long as I am getting paid in return.
That makes sense. I'm interested to see how. I have to be careful with that. I'm interested to see how that goes, how that continues. Sipping on that ale asks, and this is kind of an above the table sort of question about the mechanics of D&D as it is. But first of all, and this is really sweet. Thank you, Sass, for introducing D&D to me. I love it from a beginner's perspective. What are some tips and tricks for your first ever campaign? So like. You guys have played. This is not your first campaign. As players, how would you advise someone who's playing their first campaign ever? What's like if you could impart wisdom that you wish you had known?
Start simple. Like, don't go like, oh my gosh, I have to have this like elaborate backstory, and I have to have like all of the and I need to know all my spells. Like, start small. And as you go, like you will learn all the things. Like, don't be afraid to ask those questions, or I want to do this, but I don't know what to roll. Because I think generally, like everybody that's playing with you is going to help and going to want to help.
Yeah. My advice would be like remember that this isn't a video game. Like, this is a collaborative storytelling with your friends. So like there's like two things that come out of that, which is like don't try and min-max this. Like, this is not something that you're like, oh, I gotta have, you know, the best of this and the best of that, and then like this is a weakness, I must fulfill it. Like, be open to weaknesses in this game. Weaknesses are part of your character and ultimately make you infinitely more interesting. Like, if your character is really dumb, like just they can't read, like complex thoughts go over its head, that's almost a strength as a character that you can lean into for things. Like, it makes it more fun for everyone else. And then the other part of that would be like, you're in control of the story. So like, this isn't a video game where like you just kind of show up and like the content is like fed to you and then you keep doing it and eventually like you get to the end. It is very much like you take control of what's happening, and like you have your fun that you want to do. If you want to summon a Pokemon card game into your universe, you can do that with.
You absolutely can.
like you can make anything possible. Like, have fun with it. Like, just be open to, like, if it's not in the rule book, it doesn't mean it can't exist. Like, be
right.
Exactly what you want to see in the game.
I also think so many resources are available. I saw that Narwhal had said, what if they don't want to, like, what if like the people you're playing with don't want to help you? Like, so let's say you don't want to go out and like buy the books or things like that. There's so many resources that are available online now. Like, it's crazy how many resources are available for free even.
Absolutely. Like, YouTube is an infinite well of knowledge. Also, be careful, because just like any fandom, it has its dark side. So, you know, be careful. Take everything you see with a grain of salt. But that's any fandom. But to Hrothmar's point as well, it's like you can't win D&D. Like, it's not a matter of creating a character where you win D&D, where you win a session. That's the beauty of the game. It's just like, how can you make this story more complex and more interesting, and how can I have a fun, you know, combat session with these interesting things that I never had planned on before. So it's not necessarily about. That's the most difficult thing to explain to people who have never played D&D before, or really know anything about it. It's not like a regular board game where you take turns going around the table. Like, you are cooperating. So don't try to one up the people at the table with you. Like, try to, as far as that is concerned, maybe look into like studying some of the basic rules of improv. And, you know, things like yes and always trying to make sure that your job, like your goal, is to make the person next to you have as fun of a time as they possibly can. Like, make the other guy look good. Like, so just think in terms like that. I like to think anyway. Yeah. So,
clarity, if you're not sure what yes and is, that's when, like, if someone proposes a ridiculous concept, say, like, agree with it, and then add on to it. So
Yeah.
the idea being like, don't just say no to something. Like if there is a no, no's are okay here and there. Bring up a reason why. Like don't
Hrothmar, you have a spider on your head.
like, like I do. How would Augustus react to that? Like, it's not like, no, I don't. It's like, okay, you go with it.
Yeah. Precisely. And Does Augustus prefer hard tacos or soft tacos? I have a pretty good idea who might have asked that question, but
Yeah. I think Augustus would prefer soft tacos due to his beak-like mouth. I feel like lips are a very important part of eating hard shell tacos to keep it all from like thrown all over the place. And I think without that, he probably struggles a little bit with like not just exploding them upon biting in.
interesting. Okay, what about you, Jendee? Like hard shell, soft shell tacos, or has Jendee ever had a taco? Probably a fish taco.
I was thinking it would have to be a fish taco. So that would probably be a soft taco.
Okay, so it's unanimous. So we're gonna like, I want to say we're gonna lightning round some of these, but we're not. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Does Augustus have a? Okay, this is anonymous. Does Augustus have a White Lotus secret group that consists of old war buddies, or is he more of the leader of the Daili?
He is more of the cabbage guy.
Okay. Is that in reference to something? I apologize. I feel like an idiot.
That is an Uncle Iroh reference.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought. I've seen 2 episodes of Avatar. Please don't hate me. It's on my list.
Yeah.
No, I didn't expect you guys to jump on me, but like that's one of those shows that like when you say you've never seen it, people are like, yeah, that in chat. It's actually Locke that says Zach, how dare. But and for Jendee, is there a code of ethics in the Piracy Society?
I would assume so. Like to an I would say to an extent with your own cohorts, like your crewmates, but like it's probably like on your ship type of thing or in a pub. But if I see you out on the sea, like that could be a different story. That's kind of how I assume pirates would be. Like there's neutral ground, maybe. I don't know.
Neutral sea and like international waters, sort of. Narwhal asks, Zach, are you okay? Do you need medical support? I'm just dandy. Another, and this might be a good one to end. This might be a good one to end the evening on. But Narwhal again asks, if there was an alternative to fighting to deal with your current problems, would you take it? So we can say that this is just in reference to the New Hexton arc in general. If there was if there was a clear alternative, would you take it, or do you think you have to fight based on the knowledge that you have at this moment?
I think Augustus would push for the non-fighting solution because he is a tissue paper. But it's also one of those like, oh, there's vampires doing things, and it seems kind of like a roll up and murder them because we told you they're the bad guys kind of thing. But with a town that's so weird, like the one that we're in right now, I feel like his scholarly curiosity would get the better of him and be like, there's no, how do you put this? Like Augustus doesn't believe that there's bad people per se, like the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think that every villain is doing bad things because they think it's the best thing to do. So I think with the vampires, like he would probably be figuring out like, why the hell are you guys doing this? Like, what's your motive? Probably want to dig in deeper on that. So
Interesting. What about you, Jendee? Like, do you think Jendee would be more of a pacifist, or do you think Jendee feels as if the only way to find out what they need to know is to actually get their, roll their sleeves up and get their hands dirty?
I think that like the whole vampire thing is very new. Like it's more of like a myth or like whispers in the wind type of scenario. So she would be curious to want to get more information before just like pushing back the sleeves and being like, oh, you're a bad guy. Like, okay, let's go. But at the same time, like very defensive of her like team to be like, but don't step too close. So like, let's talk at a distance. And then like, if they like reached for their gun, then it's on type of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I totally get that. So you're saying like learn as much as you can. It seems like both of you are saying learn as much as you can. If you can avoid fighting, absolutely avoid fighting.
yeah,
Which makes sense coming from the, as we mentioned earlier, support heroes of the group. I dig that.
yeah,
that's pretty on brand.
Kind of where I'm at with it, where it's like, I'm gonna try and be as like sleuthy, peaceful as possible. But then as soon as like, pressure is applied, he'd probably just be like, firebolt.
Not gonna take any chances.
If the team runs in, I'm not going to be like, oh, but we should talk to them.
Yeah, because
Like, okay, we're going. Let's go.
You guys come back. Oh God.
he's done now like a personal investment. This isn't like, why did this happen to my grandfather? Like I must just, it's like more of it's just a scholarly thing. Like as soon as it's like, your life is in danger, he's like, I'm not getting paid enough for this. I'm just going to kill you.
Yeah. What is the biggest weapon I have? Okay, I know I said that would be the last question, but we actually got two more, so we're going to ask those instead. Lord Frozen asks, this is for Jendee, what is the Piracy Society's favorite tavern minigame?
Well, of course, now it's going to be Eel. Hello.
Right. But you didn't know of Eel when you were on the high seas. So, like, what would have been...
Also, when I was a kid, it was...
Yeah.
It probably would have been like a super simple like dice game, I would assume. As for cards, probably being near water would be like they would be mushy and stuff like that. So
really foxes the edges. Yeah.
Some nice dice that you can like put in a little pouch that like when you're having some ale you can like roll.
I dig it. And this one is also for Jendee. This is from Demonic Queen. Do you prefer to be on the sea or in a pub more? And also, what is your favorite food from aforementioned pub?
Definitely prefer sea over pub. Favorite pub food would probably be fish. I would say fish and chips, but I don't know if that's
Fish sausage?
Fish sausage. Absolutely. She loves fish sausage.
So now that Hrothmar has probably very recently experienced life on the high sea a little bit, does he prefer the comfort of dry land, or does he prefer the things that you can get on the high sea as well?
I think if you use the high sea as a novel thing, like,
Okay.
I understand that that's where fish come from, and that like people need to go there to get the food to eat. But also like the idea of him just being like, I'm gonna go out on the ocean seems more like a fun vacation kind of. Like it was enjoyable to him because he was like, I got to read books the whole time, and it
It was a cruise.
no one could interrupt me. It was just like it's like having. Yeah, it's just like a little vacation. Like you probably used as a novel idea for people to be like, I'm gonna go on the ocean and hang out for. So he's super comfortable on land, I would say.
Interesting. We keep getting more questions. Elder Kane asks, what are your characters' happy places? What brings them joy? And unless we get another one, this is going to be the last one. This is a dandy one to call it an evening on.
Yeah, I can dig that.
Go ahead.
I would say Augustus is nose deep in a book, no matter where he's at. Like some sort of new topic that he's not read before, or an old topic that he's brushing up on. It's definitely him and a candle and a book and just like hunkering down with like a big old blanket and just kind of like face planting into the dang thing.
I dig it. Just like a blanket just barely covering him, like dangling from the top of the shell, basically.
Exactly.
What about you, Jendee? What brings your character comfort? What brings your character joy?
Surprise, surprise, being near water.
Okay.
More specifically, probably like sitting on maybe the side of a ship or a boat, even a dock, with like feet in the water, like just taking in the sea breeze and just enjoying life, which is kind of what I enjoy as Jen as well. So I guess that goes back to that whole like connection.
Yeah, like so that is a good question. So like Jen loves the water as much as Jendee does. Like Jen loves being near the water. She sort of the salt in the air sort of gives you as a person life, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
I love that. Well, that is where we're going to call it tonight's episode, this inaugural episode of Spilling the Ale. I had a ding dang blast. I don't know about y'all.
I had
That was a fun time. Thank you all in chat for joining us. Thank you all for those terrific questions. We will be back next Wednesday with our regular campaign session. So it's going to be session 12. I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
Go see what happens. I don't know. So Jedi says same. So thank you all for hanging out. We appreciate the hell out of you. Please continue to tell your friends. Remember that if you tweet using the hashtag Secret Adventure, you might end up like Simi or Softaco or Captain Riddick or Toxima as a character, like having a character named after you in our weird little world. So please continue to tell people. I feel like it's so exciting. I feel like we have, like watching the YouTube numbers and the podcast numbers, we have new people every week, like tuning in to the fun. And that's exhilarating for me. So do you guys have anything you'd like to add before we sign off for the evening?
Drink more water than you have been. Like whatever amount of water you're drinking, just a little more. Like go after this, go get a cup of water, and even if you only drink like a third of it, and then pour it down the sink. That's fine. I'll count it.
That is good advice. That is very good advice.
Wear a mask.
Be safe. Wear a mask, guys. Take care of your brains. It's fucking weird. It's have you been outside? It's weird out there.
No, actually, I haven't.
Okay. Let me rephrase that question. Because this group came together by not going outside specifically. It's weird out there and on the internet and in life. So just take care of yourselves. We love you so much. Thank you for joining us. Please continue to tell your friends. Please continue to tweet. We appreciate the support and can't wait to see you guys next week for the session. And then we don't even know who's going to be on the next episode of Spilling the Ale, but we hope you guys liked it and we'll be back the week after the next session. So we love you guys.
We killed it. Like run it a second time.
Yeah, we did so darn good. Like it's worth doing it twice. Love you guys. Have a fantastic evening. Please be safe.